Okay, well, hello, everyone, and a very warm welcome. I am Wes Rades, Bay Nature's Executive Director, and it is such an incredible joy to look out and see this full room. We just knew a little bit of rain would not keep Bay Nature people away. It is wonderful to see you. Today is a special, special day, not just because we're celebrating 25 years of Bay Nature, but because this gathering is something that we don't take for granted. A room filled with people who care deeply about the natural world, this region, and each other. For those of you who are new to Bay Nature, we are an independent, nonprofit media organization devoted to environmental journalism in the San Francisco Bay Area. We publish Bay Nature magazine and bring our stories to life through talks, hikes, and experiences that connect you with the people and the places that we cover. And what we've learned over these 25 years is that from our pages, this community grows. I want to start by acknowledging our hosts. I want to thank the Golden Gate National Parks Conservancy, the Presidio Trust, and the National Park Service for their public-private partnership. And in particular, I want to lift up the Ramaytush Ohlone, the traditional stewards of this beautiful place, still present, still vibrant, still with much to contribute to a thriving Bay Area. It is an honor to be in this beautiful place today. Today's celebration doesn't happen without many hands, and I want to thank our 17 lead sponsors, including our presenting sponsors, the Marine Mammal Center and the Federated Indians of Great and Rancheria. I want to thank our 13 community sponsors. I want to make sure to thank our host committee. That's Nancy and Bart Westcott, JR Philanthropics, Barbara Bessie, and Jorgen Hildebrandt, and our Publisher Circle supporters. And finally, I want to thank our 12 in-kind partners who've contributed everything from wine to media services to the beautiful flowers that you'll see around the hall. Could we all just take a moment to thank all of our wonderful sponsors today? Next, Bay Nature's Board of Directors. Your leadership and generosity make this work possible. If you're a past or a present board member, would you please raise your hand to be recognized? And of course, our staff, the journalists, the editors, event producers, and fundraisers who bring Bay Nature to life every day. If you're a past or a present staff member, would you please raise your hands to be recognized? And finally, all of you, it is incredible to see you all here today. This is a thoughtful, engaged, and deeply committed community. Scientists, educators, advocates, volunteers, policymakers, artists, and nature lovers. If you see yourself in that, please give yourselves a round of applause for being here today. And with that, I am excited to turn it over to my partner in this work, Bay Nature's Editor-in-Chief, Victoria Schlesinger.
Thank you, Wes. Ooh, is this on? We got it? All right. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for taking the time to be here. Really grateful. It is an incredible accomplishment that a nonprofit, independent media organization that is devoted to covering the natural world just in the San Francisco Bay Area exists and is celebrating 25 years. Really, yeah. The pages of Bay Nature, be they in print or online, are filled with curiosity and beauty. They're filled with critical thinking and investigation. There is a reverence in those pages for accuracy and originality and a desire to connect with nature. And I would argue that those are all values the world needs more than ever right now. I've been at Bay Nature for 11 years now, and I am so proud of how Bay Nature has grown. Not only do we publish a quarterly print magazine, but we publish an original online piece weekly put out a newsletter that is free for all. The stories that we publish are now the basis for more than 75 online conversations and in-person events a year. Thank you, Leah Keener. Please stand up. Many of the articles that we publish are created by freelance journalists, experts, photographers, artists, cartographers. Freelancers really are the lifeblood of Bay Nature, so if you have contributed to Bay Nature, thank you. I am so proud as well that many of the articles and images that we now publish at Bay Nature are created by our fellows. A program that was started about 4 years ago by former executive director Regina Starr Ridley and supported by the Schmidt Family Foundation. The program includes senior editor Kate Golden and I mentor 2 full-time journalists for a year. And I'm really thrilled that their hard work has been recognized through journalism awards for their science and environmental reporting. The last fellow who wrapped up with us and moved on is now a reporter at a newspaper in Savannah, Georgia, where she covers climate change. And Kate was reading some of her recent clips, some of her articles out in Savannah, and said what I thought was the highest compliment. She noted that the stories had Bay Nature reporting all over them. So thank you for growing with Bay Nature.
Thank you, Victoria. So with today's program, we are marking 25 years of Bay Nature and also looking ahead, because if there's one thing that we know, it's that our work is far from finished. Every day, it seems, we receive reminders that we live in a deeply imperfect world. But it's in these moments that I continue to return to Leonard Cohen's words, "There's a crack in everything, but that's how the light gets in." At Bay Nature, we believe in that light. We see it in the work happening across the region, in the landscapes that continue to inspire us, and in all of you. So today, let's celebrate, let's connect, and let's commit to shining that light brighter.
And with that, we are excited to begin this afternoon to celebrate the values that this community has championed for a quarter century. We're taking you on a journey. On this stage, we will be traveling together through a print issue of Bay Nature, through the opening pages of inspiration, to the deep well of feature stories, to the pieces that get you from the page onto the trail. Guiding us through those pages, we are lucky to have someone who knows how to tell a nuanced story and keep us moving.
So please join us in welcoming Darren Peck, a meteorologist at KPIX and a Bay Nature member. Hope you enjoy the show.
Thank you guys for having me here today. And I do want to stress that what Wes just said is that I am a very grateful member of this magazine and have been for several years. So in that sense, I'm like just about everybody else that's in this room right now. And one of the things I look forward to more than anything else from getting the magazine is when they do an event that you can go do something in person. This is one, but of course it's the outdoor hikes or the events for 2 reasons. You get to go and experience these places that we all love so much and many times didn't even know existed until this magazine brought it into our orbit. And on those, you also get to be in a community of like-minded people, which again is very much a theme like today. I went on a hike in Glen Park about 3 years ago. It was right after Wes had started. I think he had been on for about 2 months. I did a hike in San Vicente Redwoods, which was another one that I was thrilled when they put it up there because the article had really made it seem like a place you'd want to get to know better now. And then the last event I went to was Ohlone Skies. I was waiting to see if there was a response on that one because it was at Chabot. You couldn't get a seat, so you were lucky to be there, and the presentation was just fantastic. So I'll be here as the reader, taking us through everyone else who's going to share their story in connection to Bay Nature. If you think about a great issue of Bay Nature, it doesn't just inform you, it guides you. It opens a door, and then it leads you deeper into the stories that shape this place that we all care about. And every issue of Bay Nature begins with an editor's letter. That opening piece sets the tone. It tells you what matters, what questions to carry with you, and why this moment, right now, is worth paying attention to. Today, that role belongs to someone who has been there from the very beginning. David Loeb, he's the co-founder of Bay Nature, and his original vision helped shape not just a publication, but a community, one that connects people to the natural world of the Bay Area and inspires us to care for it. He's here to reflect on where that vision began, how it's evolved, and why it matters as much as ever, especially now. Please join me in welcoming David Loeb.
Wow, thanks you guys. Happy anniversary, friends of Bay Nature. I've been asked to reflect on the original vision for Bay Nature and how that's been fulfilled over the last quarter century. I'm really grateful to Wes and the staff for inviting me to share this moment with you, and even more grateful to all of them for keeping this inspirational project going strong after all these years. When Malcolm and I launched Bay Nature in January of 2001, getting here to this point in time, this milestone of 25 years, was not a given. So it's definitely a moment to be marked and celebrated and savored. As you know, we lost Malcolm this past year, and it's impossible for me, as we reach this significant moment, not to recall the way that Malcolm and I smiled at each other as we were setting up the chairs for our 5th anniversary event at the Oakland Museum in 2006. And we marveled together at the feat we had accomplished by making it that far. Because when we started the magazine, he cautioned me that most magazine startups fold after the first year or two. And there we were, way past that second year, at the mature age of 5. But look at us now. Look, here we are now at 5 times that. That's pretty impressive, especially when you think about the precipitous decline in print media in those intervening 2 decades. Way to go, guys. So for that 5th anniversary event, we invited some of our collaborators to make presentations that would reflect on the inspiration that Bay Nature community draws from the natural world of the Bay Area. One of the presenters that evening was Greg Saris, then as now, chair of the Federated Indians of Great and Rancheria, which represents the Coast Miwok and Southern Pomo peoples, and also a noted author of fiction and nonfiction. In his remarks, Greg articulated the core mission of Bay Nature more artfully than I ever could. So I'd like to share a bit of what he said to us that evening. So referring to the tribal peoples of California, Greg said, "The landscape was a sacred text, knowledge derived from place, whether dreamed or learned over the millennia. That knowledge sustained life and was the essence of the relationship between people and place. This profound relationship with place mandated an equally profound responsibility for the well-being of that place. What I think all of us here understand," this is Greg speaking, "is that indeed we are part of the Bay Area and not apart from it. We understand, regardless of our backgrounds, Aboriginal natives are not, recent immigrants are not so recent. We understand the inherent responsibility we have here. Pieces of the old text remain: water, sky, hills, birds, plants, animals, ancient Coast Miwok songs, and we must endeavor to protect and live well with them. At the same time, we must provide a new text, continuing to draw on all forms of our knowledge so that each of us and our children can again become Bay Area literate. New as in old, song and science together, song and science and story about place in our everlasting relationship to it. Greg concluded by saying, Bay Nature, I congratulate you on this anniversary. Your work and the magazine provide such a text, provide Bay Area song, science, and story, helping us, all of us, be located once again. Greg's insights still resonate 20 years later. Becoming Bay Area literate, being located, providing new text, arising out of both song and science. In essence, Greg was calling on us to serve as keepers and purveyors of the deep natural and human history of our region, a history that's lodged in its landscapes and waterways and wildlife. In my own remarks at that 5th anniversary event, I reflected on the first article that we had commissioned for the magazine, which was a deep meditation by naturalist Jules Evans on the return of coho salmon to Lagunitas Creek in West Marin. When Jules wrote that article more than a quarter century ago, that coho salmon run had been hanging on by the slenderest of threads and had just recently been designated as endangered by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. And serious work on restoring that creek to support the salmon run had just begun. Now, thanks to the combined efforts of federal agencies, local grassroots groups, that watershed and the salmon that depend on it are well on their way to being restored. On many winter days after significant rains, you can join dozens of other people who gather along the banks of Lagunitas Creek to watch the salmon power their way upstream to spawn. It's a kind of joyful, impromptu civic celebration of reconnection to the natural world, a vivid, in-person, living color connection to an act of creation that shows how we humans can not only coexist with our non-human neighbors, but can indeed play a positive role in repairing the torn fabric of our planet. Bay Nature was founded on the belief, on the knowledge, that a healthy human society is possible only when it finds a way to both nourish and be nourished by the surrounding natural world. Malcolm and I also realized that in order to survive, Bay Nature itself had to both nourish and be nourished by the Bay Area's conservation and natural history institutions, the communities of people dedicated to understanding, protecting, and stewarding our region's remarkable natural resources. And indeed, Bay Nature has survived and prospered over this quarter century because it has succeeded in assembling an astonishing and generous community of writers, artists, and photographers, land stewards, educators and naturalists, donors, advertisers, and funders, so many people like all of you here who are passionate about local nature. And it strikes me that the current Bay Nature staff has done a remarkable job of growing this community by enlarging and diversifying the network of content contributors, by producing more events that welcome more people into the fold, and by establishing a membership program that creates ongoing opportunities for connection between all of these spokes of the Bay Area's region's conservation wheel. A few days ago, I was volunteering with the Abbott's Lagoon Weed Warriors, which is a group organized by the Point Reyes National Seashore Association. These volunteers head out to Abbott's Lagoon every other Thursday to cull invasive non-native plants to keep them from overwhelming the native dune vegetation. These are people who are investing their time in connecting with the beloved landscape, happy to be out there playing a role in keeping it vibrant. And of course, it's not just about pulling weeds for them. These folks talk enthusiastically about the changes they've observed over time and through the seasons. They took breaks from the weeding to watch 3 river otters emerge from the lagoon. They pointed out a newly discovered patch of checker lilies growing by the side of the trail. All the while, these folks are writing a new chapter in the story of that landscape. As we were working on our knees in the weeds, one of the team asked what I had done before I retired. When I told her that I had been a co-founder for Bay Nature, she looked up and said, "Wait, that Bay Nature? I love that magazine." Now, of course, I know she's Bay Nature's core demographic, so I shouldn't have been surprised. But still, really, honestly, how could I not love it? Because indeed, we are that Bay Nature. So now, because of people like her and people like you, that Bay Nature is 25 years strong. I'm deeply grateful to the board and staff for keeping the stream alive and thriving today when it is needed more than ever. And thanks to all of you for your continuing participation in this dynamic community of local nature lovers. Let's keep it going. Thank you so much.
Okay, now that we've opened the magazine, we just set the tone, we framed the moment here, we come to what is one of my favorite parts of the magazine, because if you're anything like me, when you get that season's edition of Bay Nature, you don't start at page 1 and methodically flip through in order. You flip. And in that experience, there's a moment where something pulls you in, draws your attention, reminds you what's so inspiring about all of these things. And that moment with Bay Nature is the art. And that's where this season begins. This section is about what's happening right now, what's blooming, what's migrating, shifting just outside our doors. And for the past 8 years, that experience has been shaped by someone whose work doesn't just illustrate nature. It invites you to see it differently. Jane Kim. She's a visual artist. She's the founder of Inkdwell. She's created large-scale public art across the country, including the Wall of Birds at the Cornell Lab of Ornithology. She also creates the illustrations for the Bay Nature Almanac. Across more than 30 issues, she's helped define how readers think about the new season and how other species experience that new season along with us. And what's especially remarkable is that for her work, it sits right at the intersection of art and science. That's where observation then becomes storytelling. Today we get to go behind the scenes of that process with her, to see how those images come to life and how they help all of us slow down and notice what's around us. Please welcome Jane Kim.
Hello, everybody. Are you loving the rain? I'm really loving this rain after that hot month in March. Well, my name is Jane Kim, and I am so incredibly proud to be here today as a contributor to Bay Nature magazine through the Seasonal Almanac since 2018. And when Victoria reached out to me way back then about the idea of a seasonal almanac, I really had no idea what an impact it would have on me, on my work, and how I connect to the natural world as well. So here are just a few slides I'm going to share with you. This was our very first issue together. This was 2018, and it always starts in the fall. And I don't know if many of you know this, some of you do. When she first reached out to do the whole four issues of the year, I thought, you know what? I'm going to hand paint all of these illustrations. And so I put them together in these 4 different panels: fall, winter, spring, and summer. And I had no idea if this was going to be something that we would do over and over again. And when it became clear that we would, I was no longer able to do the hand-painted version, which is, you know, it's okay. We moved on to the digital version. But we also did something new with the seasonal almanac starting in 2019. I don't know how many of you noticed this little detail, but it always starts with sort of a circle illustration in the front that we call our species spotlight. And so I get the list from the staff of Bay Nature of what we're going to highlight in all 4 years so that you can see one species through the different transition of that year. So one of my favorite seasonal almanac species spotlights is the California tiger salamander. And mostly because you get to see like so much dynamic change in this one little animal throughout the year. But today I thought I would give you a little window into the inner workings of how I even arrive at these illustrations. And of course, I really rely on the writing. So once I get that species list, I also get a set of draft text. And so you can see here, if you quickly read through this, this is a little sneak peek into the summer issue of this year. And we're gonna highlight the California brown pelican. And one of the things that I have learned about illustrating the seasonal almanac is that every year, every season, no matter how familiar I think I am with that animal, I inevitably learn something new and I get to connect with this species in a different way. And so we're gonna be talking about the taking down of the fish. So this is a moment that, you know, maybe we kind of all saw in passing, or, you know, you see the head toss of the brown pelican, but I get to illustrate that for you so that next time you're out in there in the field, you can actually observe this behavior yourself. So give me 1 second. As I said, I now work digitally. And so I am gonna switch my screen here. So once I've compiled all of the different sort of references and have an idea of how I'm going to illustrate, I start with a line drawing of that animal, and I go through and I start to fill in sort of what I call the base colors, and I'll start adding in the base color. So that's the gular, the pouch, and I learned that because of this issue. I was like, wait, what is that part even called? And I start filling in the different parts of the animal. So that was that cute little tip of the bill, of the yellow. And get that nice head in, because I want this to be like the heightened breeding plumage of the California brown pelican. Got the eye, and get a little bit of shading on that wing. So then once I've got all of my base colors established, that's when I get to go in and do the fun part, which is putting in all the details. So for example, you know, let's get that nice little shading in the eye there. We'll start to just lay that in. All right, so I want to now add maybe just a little bit more of that blue highlight on the eye. And so meanwhile, while I'm doing this, I'm trying to decide like what sort of details are going to give you all, the readers, the most joy to then go out and pay attention to as well. You know, start shading, putting in some of that shading in the feather and the head. And just get a little bit, and it, you know, it's a slow build, but that's the beauty of being an illustrator. You know, you really are getting to spend some time with this animal, looking and observing what makes this special, that I hope I'm then relaying to you all, the readers. So I sit here and I work slowly building these animals for you, but that helps me reconnect out into the natural world too, because now for sure my studio is in Half Moon Bay, and the brown pelicans, are watching them come in and out is one of my favorite things, but you better be sure I'm going to be looking for them eating these fish now. So you may also be, I'm going to switch now to the other, familiar with, and I don't want to give you too much, so this is just a little sneak peeks. Next, when you get your issue, you get to see the finished animal. But these illustrations have become such a deep part of my practice in other ways. So Inkwell Studio does public art, interpretive signage, fine art, and inevitably these illustrations in the seasonal almanac somehow find their way into my public art. So I challenge you all, if you have an opportunity to see these works in person, and I know you all are deep readers of this magazine, that you can spot some of these illustrations in these public works. So this is in Mariposa, California. This is in Sunnyvale. This is right here in San Francisco at St. Mark's Square. And I'm not going to tell you who's in here from Bay Nature. Here's the Arinda Public Library. This is in downtown Half Moon Bay. Well, I will tell you in this one, because we're highlighting the ochre sea star. This is the species spotlight for this year. And you may all be familiar with this particular installation in San Francisco. But in our interpretive art, it actually all comes out too when we're highlighting California especially. So this is this is Mid-Peninsula Open Trust down in Los Altos, and here is the Chatoni Coast Dairies National Monument. We just finished a bunch of new interpretive signs there. So I really love that we get to continue to bring illustrations from Bay Nature magazine out into California. And I just wanted to give a special little shout out to Nature in the City. This was one of the first interpretive art works that I did, and it was because of this that I was even connected to Bay Nature magazine. So thank you for your time today, and I hope you will enjoy the magazine for many, many more years to come. I hope to be here for 50.
Thank you, Jane. Okay, so we've moved through the opening of the magazine and we've paused in the beauty and the immediacy of the season. And now we arrive at the heart of every issue, the feature well. This is where Bay Nature goes deeper, where it takes on complex questions about ecology, science, policy, history, and the challenges that are facing our region. And it does so with care, rigor, and storytelling that stays with you. As a meteorologist, I spend a lot of time translating science for a broad audience, and I can tell you, doing that well matters, and it makes a difference. Especially now, when the stakes are high and the information we rely on needs to be accurate, thoughtful, and grounded in real expertise. For years, Bay Nature has reported and published stories about the Amamutsun tribal band and their relationship to lands in the Southern Bay Area. The aim has been to educate readers about the tribe and their efforts to gain access to and steward their ancestral lands. For today's feature, we'll hear from tribal members about Uristak, a landscape in the southern portion of Santa Clara County near Gilroy. Uristak has sacred significance to the tribe, and for over a decade, they've worked to protect the land from becoming a sand and gravel mine. Today, you're going to hear from Amamutsun Tribal Band Chairman Ed Ketchum, tribal members Alexi Sigona and Eric Zapata, and Amamutsun Land Trust Executive Director Noel Chambers. Please join me in welcoming them all to the stage.
It's just so fun to see all these familiar faces. Just not over it yet. So in the feature well of Bay Nature, as Darren said, we try to go deep. And today we are going to talk about the Uristoc tribal cultural landscape in an area south of Gilroy that is sacred to the Amamutsan tribal band. You can see on the map here, hopefully this is helpful, Gilroy is right up there above 101. We're going to be talking about an area at the heart of the landscape that the Amamutsan have long called Uristoc. And I'd like to start by asking Chairman Ed Ketchum to tell us a little bit about his ancestors and some of what makes Uristoc important to the Amamutsan.
Thank you. Mispin Tuis. Good day. I'd like to first recognize the fact that we're in the land of the Yelamu, and it's called Ramaytush. And that Ramaytush means far northern people. So you're in the land of the Ramaytush, the far northern people of the, what we call the Ohlone now. I prefer to call them Uma Aya, as that means tribe in the language. My grandmother's grandmother was Ascension Solorzano. Ascension was the last tribal person in the Bay Area who spoke. Her first language was Mutsun. And she lived in the San Juan Bautista, Gilroy area for her whole life. She had a near-death experience when she was 15 years old, which gave her a calling to be a doctora. She set up a makeshift hospital in Gilroy where she served the people who lived nearby and from people from around the world, from South America and even Europe, came because she had this calling to be a doctora. And so she served the people in the area. One of the most important places for her was a place called Uristoc. This is where she went to get her medicines because there was special power in the plants that were there. Uris means big head. Toc means place. So it's the big head place. Before the Spanish came, many hundreds of years ago, Uristoc was the place where the shamans went to prepare themselves. It's where the shamans lived. Chief among them was the Kukutsui, who was a very powerful shaman who would fly into ceremonies where he would perform medicines to help people become well and help in other ceremonies that took place. Uristoc had many natural features, including lakes of oil, springs of eternal life, these sulfur hot springs. It had big nodules of chert, which is used for making arrows, and many other special things. It was also an area that had a wealth of animals. Ascension's parents was Juan Miguel and Barbara. They were once on the Uristoc property, and out of the hills they saw an elk come. Right behind it was a grizzly bear chasing it, and the elk went bounding across into the lake, the oil lakes, and the bear went riding with him, and they both disappeared into the lake. So this area was an area known as something you had to be afraid of as well, because you had to be careful where you were there. As I was a child, I remember them saying, "You better be good or they might throw you into one of that lake." So I always thought, gee, I haven't even seen those lakes. But actually, we were not allowed to go into this area to even observe it for over 100 years. And we were denied the ability to go and have ceremony or anything in the area. And I know that the people would always say, that's a special place, but we were denied that area. now people will say, well, what'd they do there? What kind of ceremonies did they do there? So I wasn't participating. This is what is written down. This is a ceremony that took place there. In the fall, the ground was dry and golden, and the rain doctor would come out and announce that it was time to have a ceremony to bring on the rain. The people would prepare themselves. They'd get seeds and other things to act as offerings. They'd get all themselves ready. They do the proper fasting. They do the proper preparation. And then the ceremony began. The dancers would dance around the fire. And periodically they would stop and they'd bring in trays of seeds. And they'd throw the seeds onto the fire. The fire would sparkle up and crack, and you hear popping and cracking of the seeds as they burnt in the fire. This continued on until the rain doctor felt it was necessary. He would take a tule blanket, he'd unroll it, and out of this blanket he had a little character, and it was a character that was fired. And he would demonstrate that and brought that up to everybody to see. And all would be wondered at this little image. They would continue the dance, each time providing offerings. Each of those offerings was really part of their life, because giving that food was giving part of their lives. They would continue this until the rain doctor felt it was appropriate. He'd take the little image down to the river, and he'd place it in the river and watch it dance and see if it danced in the appropriate manner. If it danced in the appropriate manner, he knew that it was time for the rain. If it did not dance in the proper manner, he'd go back into the sweat lodge, into the temescal, until they continued to do dancing and giving more offerings. Finally, he would take it down to the river, and he'd place it in there, and it would dance in the appropriate manner. And immediately, it would start raining. All the people then would return to the temescal, and they would again provide more offerings. And the final offering they would give would be a bear skin. And that was the end of the offerings. This is just one of the ceremonies that took place in Uristock. This is just one of the reasons that we wanted this to be returned to our people. It was promised to us that it would be ours forever, but during the Mexican period, it was turned over to other people, and we were unable to continue there. Even though our people would go to the posa, and we'd have gatherings, and there would be dancing, and there would be swimming. And so knew about this area, and it was important to us. And it wasn't only until Post was able to buy a portion of this, which is the Sargent Ranch, that it's been protected. And I'm going to let Alexi talk about the process that we took to have this protected.
Thank you, Chairman, for sharing. I'm really grateful for you to share that history and your culture. And Alexi, please tell us a little bit about why Uristock needed protection, what the Protect Uristock campaign was about.
Thank you. And Mishmin Truhis, everyone. Who here has heard about the Protect Uristock campaign? Show of hands. Oh, okay. Do I even need to do this? Maybe this is also like credit to Bay Nature for covering this story for so long and making sure that there's good visibility, right? Because just 3-4 decades ago, there's been a lot of controversy or conflict between conservation-minded folks and tribal peoples, right? Sort of do we use the land actively or do we protect it with fences for conservation? And so in the same way that Amamutsun people have not been able to access and go to Uristock, some of the national parks had that same model of dispossessing people. So all to say the Protect Eurostock campaign that started really after 2015 when developers bought the 6,500-acre Sargent Ranch with the intent to do a sand and gravel mine. When this happened, a coalition formed of people who cared about the environment, people who cared about human rights, and it was led by the tribe. And I think what's really beautiful is that, Ama Mutsun perspectives and values that humans and environments are one and the same, right, was really reflected in the broad diversity of people, like the Center for Biological Diversity, Green Foothills, the ACLU, who were key contributors in the Protect Herstock campaign. This campaign was really to try to make sure that there is public awareness and overwhelming public support for the tribe to be able to access this sacred landscape in the future, and for it to not be desecrated by a 400-acre sand and gravel quarry in the heart of our most sacred land. And just a couple of highlights, right, high level of what this campaign looked like. First, I will say, there were a lot of meetings during the pandemic, right? A lot of us were on Zoom just trying to make sure we had this community. And sort of the sense of community there is something that I felt personally when I attended these monthly meetings. But there were over 29,000 petition signers. Many volunteers would go out to different events for the tribe, supporting that. Over 10,000 environmental impact report comment letters that were sent to Santa Clara County to make sure that this mine was, stalled and potentially blocked. There were prayer walks that were led by the tribe. One specifically was started at Mission San Juan Bautista, where our ancestors were taken. People from the Aristoc area who were living in that landscape were taken to Mission San Juan Bautista. But what we did was we walked from this mission, the 5-mile walk back to the Aristoc foothills, really to symbolize what spirituality and cultural significance is. It's not about the religions that were imposed on our people, but it's about protecting Aristoc. So really the campaign has been, a tremendous effort, and I think really essential for the protection of this landscape. And just a few months ago, the land was acquired. Peninsula Open Space Trust purchased this property to protect it. And I think there's a really cool, relationship between environmental advocacy groups, tribal organizations, and other conservation folks who are buying up the land to protect it there. And it's just a really great story to show how Indigenous peoples and conservation orgs and human rights, faith-based groups, etc., can work together for a common cause.
Thank you, Alexi. Noel, as you have been in the land trust community for a long time. You worked for Post for many years, and now you're the executive director of the Ama Mutsun Land Trust. So tell us a little bit about the land trust interest in this landscape.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Noelle Chambers. I'm executive director of the Ama Mutsun Land Trust. I am not a tribal member, and I am very honored to serve in this role and to be up on this panel with you today. Before joining AMLT just about a year ago, I worked at Peninsula Open Space Trust, or POST, for a long time, where I was vice president of conservation there. And the property known as Sargent Ranch had been identified as a top conservation priority for a long time, due to its size, but also due to its location. It's at the very end of the Santa Cruz Mountains, and it's critical both for habitat, but also for connectivity to the south, to the Gabilan Range, and also to the east, to the Diablo Range. And so my coming into this lens when I was at Post, I was thinking about it from just purely that perspective. And in my time there, I developed a relationship with the Ama Mutsun Tribal Band and Land Trust, and came to a much deeper appreciation of this landscape as a sacred place. The work to protect this property was long. As Alexi talked about, a coalition of people came together, really inspiring. And the work of that campaign led to the opportunity of the landowner being willing to sell the property to Post. The sale of the property happened over a few years. So in fall of 2024, Post acquired the first portion of the property, the Santa Cruz County portion, just over 1,000 acres. Last May, they acquired over 2,000 acres of the property. And then just earlier this year, at the end of January, acquired the additional over 2,000 acre portion, which is where the sand and gravel mine had been proposed. So it's a huge moment of celebration and a huge milestone. Yeah. And there is one last 480-acre portion of the property that is still to be protected later this year. That is where there had been active oil wells on the property. Ed spoke about the oil lakes. There are these amazing natural geologic features of tar seeps on this property. There have been active oil wells on this property. They are being decommissioned. And so once they are decommissioned later this year, Post will acquire the last portion, and then the entire 6,500-acre property will be protected.
So with the property protected, my understanding is that tribal members have been able to
Yeah.
visit. And so Eric, would you tell us as a tribal member what it's been like going to Uristock? I know you had a chance to go with some other tribal youth. Tell us about that.
What it's been like was, it was really emotional, you know, being around your family, who have been wanting this connection with the land.
You got it.
Sorry,
You
you asked
got
the
it.
question again?
Yeah, what was it like when you got to visit with some of your other cousins?
Yeah, I saw a bunch of animals and stuff like that. We visited the creeks and we did a bunch of simple things while we went there, but they were really powerful because when we were planning this camping trip, we did it in a way, it was like almost like a celebration with this new acquisition, with the help from Post, what they did for us. And it's, we talked about at the campfires, like what we would do with the land, nothing official, because we're just dreaming, but we want to bring back ceremony, just make things sacred again, because that's what's lost is sacredness is like really what it is. Just nothing is sacred anymore, and that's what we want to do, and that's what it was like.
Thank you. Here's a shot of Uristock. Chairman Ketchum, will you just give us a glimpse, a moment to tell us what the vision for the future is for this landscape for the tribe?
It's a little hard to put in words. First of all, this has been unbelievable for us. The Tribal Council, this is around 2002. They developed a brochure, and I'd like to, and what we want to do is describe what did we want for our land. This is before this Uristock question even came about. It was before the land trust was created. It was when we first were putting into words what our purpose was. And so I'd like to read to you from that, if I can. My eyes are not as good as they were. May the Lalok geese again reside in Poitaqui, Fraser Soap Lake. May we hear the Tiwu, the elk, trumpet on Moksaraha, Santa Cruz Mountains. May the Siri, the eagle, and the Osaka condor again fly over Ipitak, Pacheco Peak. May we again collect sak, pine nuts on Toyoatak, Fremont Peak. May the women again make baskets at Uristock, Sargent. May the Amagome, a long-distance running game, once again take place in Tatak. May the earth never stop Timipere quaking in Kotretak, Hollister. That's what we put as our goal. And we said to ourselves, well, how are we going to do this? And the first thing we did was we looked at where our cultural resources were. And it turned out most of them were in and about Uristock. Uristock was the name of a rancho that was created by the Spanish. But listen to the names of the ranchos outside of that. Onto the north was Animas, souls. To the south was Lomarias Muertos, Little Hills of the Dead. To the southwest was Eremitas y Agua Caliente, the water of smelly smelly hot water. And that's in relationship to this spring of eternal life. And on the west was Salsis Poetas. Get out if you can. What they're saying is this was a area that had a lot of fear in some people. We didn't fear it. We felt that it was part of our people's lives. And so now we are rejoining this. But this is only a part of our goal. Our goal is to make the entire Soap Lake Basin a wildlife refuge and tie the Mahashare, that is the Mount Diablo Range, or Diablo Range, tie it to the
Shown in this photograph here.
Santa Cruz Mountains. So this is what our goal is, and we're going to need all of your help. And now, right now, one of the biggest problems that we see is we were able to do a lot of this because we are on the state contact list. We are on the state of contact list, and because of that, others have to consult with us now under Senate Bill 80 and under Assembly Bill 52.
And Chairman, I'm going to have to invite the audience to speak with us after the rest of the program about these issues, because I know we got to keep moving along. But Bay Nature will continue to report on these issues and making sure the public is connected to them. I'm so grateful that you all made the time to join us today.
And all I want to say is, Len, I have a lot of other information. If anybody would like to learn more about the AMA and more about Aristoc, I have other information. And thank you for your time.
The San Francisco Bay Area is one of the most extraordinary ecological regions on Earth. Redwood forests, tidal marshes, coastal cliffs, wild places woven into everyday lives of millions of people. But amid global environmental challenges and the constant noise of daily life, it can be easy to feel overwhelmed or disconnected from the natural world just outside your door. At its founding, Bay Nature set out with a simple idea: tell stories of nature right here in our region. The science, the people, the places. Stories that help you see your home landscape with new eyes.
Change begins with attention, with the stories we tell, with the places we come to know, and with the communities that we choose to stay connected to.
Bay Nature produces award-winning environmental journalism about science, conservation, wildlife, and climate resiliency across the Bay Area. But the story doesn't stop on the page, because the most powerful stories are the ones we experience together. What began as a magazine has become something more: a community of scientists, educators, policymakers, conservationists, and nature lovers.
I would describe Bay Nature as a place of community, a place of learning. Bay Nature is a place where we can learn about our local nature and really dive into these niche topics that we might just not see covered anywhere else. But it's so much more than just reading stories. It's also a place where you can have in-depth, immersive experiences into nature.
A place where curiosity becomes connection. Through stories, community events, and field experiences, Bay Nature brings you deeper into the landscape we share. These stories inform policy, stimulate new research, inspire the next generation of environmental leaders, and help you understand the ecosystems that sustain us all.
One of the great things that I've always enjoyed about Bay Nature, you bring it together. You help us see the bigger picture, the collective picture of how all the individual pieces fit together. It's a part of an ecosystem, and both as a publication and now as an organization that involves outings and events, helping to bring the people together even more so physically to become a community, as you put it.
We protect what we love. We love what we understand. Bay Nature helps you see the natural world more clearly and become part of the community working to care for it.
All I have to do is go out into my backyard, and I have already learned things from Bay Nature that help me appreciate my own space even more and feel just more grateful, more grateful.
All right, everybody. What a great day. We've reached the point in the program where now I have the great privilege of asking for you to support Bay Nature by making a donation to our organization. And the reason why this is so important is because each and every year, more than 50% of Bay Nature's revenue comes from individual donations. Last year, that was over $650,000. So quite literally, we would not be here today celebrating this milestone together were it not for all of you. So this is wonderful and tremendous. I ask for your support. When I ask for your support, it's really to invest in all of the people who create Bay Nature, invest in our programs, and invest in helping us grow this community even further. So I have two announcements quickly to help that along. The first is that I know we have a lot of Bay Nature members in the room today, but if you don't happen to be a Bay Nature member, you are now. You're leaving the room as a Bay Nature member. If you're already a Bay Nature member, you're going to get an email after the event with a coupon. And all we ask you to do is think about the person in your life who should be a Bay Nature member, and you get to pass along a membership to those folks for free. So please help us grow this community. The second is you notice this beautiful Bay Nature 25th anniversary cover. Before you leave today, make sure that you pick up, we've made these beautiful posters for each and every one of you to take home with you. They're suitable for framing. They're really wonderful. And I hope you'll visit with Tom Killian after the program. Go have your poster signed. But we wanted to make sure that you had a wonderful memento from this moment together. So what I'd like you to do as we settle into this moment together is imagine an exciting future. Imagine a future where Bay Nature is producing award-winning journalism, where we're growing our membership, where we're producing dynamic events, sold-out gatherings, where we're winning multiple journalism awards, where we're reaching policymakers and students with our work. But here's the thing, that's what we're doing today, right? That's what we're doing today. And with your support, we will turn that spark into a flame. Safely, of course, and not on a spare the air day, but we will turn that spark into a flame. So let's do this. Here's how it's going to work. We have a big goal. We're going to try to raise $75,000 this afternoon. But more than that, what would be really meaningful to me is if we can leave this room with 100% participation. So that even if you only give $50, that we can all go out and have our reception a little bit later this afternoon, knowing that we have all said yes to Bay Nature in this moment. So this is the way it's going to work. You've each got a paddle on your program. When you feel so moved, when we move through the fun to need, just raise that paddle up. Show us your number. We've got staff members in each of the quarters of the hall who will catalog those gifts, and we'll make sure that that you're registered where you're feeling comfortable. You always know when we fundraise, we always have some fun, so we've got a couple surprises for you, and we always make sure that you know that large gifts and small gifts alike have an impact on Bay Nature. So we invite that for you. Now, I would hate for our fundraising to fail because of a paddle malfunction. So I want to give everyone here just the opportunity. This commits you to nothing. But go ahead, show me those paddles, wave them high. Let me just make sure they work. Yeah, they seem to work. They seem to work. This is fantastic. This is fantastic. No paddle malfunctions today. Okay, so we're going to start our fundraising with a really special moment. The first opportunity is an invitation for you to join our ranks of major donors. And what major donors allow us to do is have the confidence and the resources to go do big things. Big things. When you see us, for instance, launch an entirely new membership program, that's with the confidence of our major donors behind us. When you see us completely relaunch our website, rebuild it in 3 months last year, and put it online, right? We do that with the confidence of our major donors. When you see us win multiple journalism awards in multiple years, it's because our reporters are out there following the story wherever it may go, knowing the organization stands behind them. And when we're able to invest in our staff by offering cost of living increases, by offering new benefits when other organizations are pulling them back, we do that as well because we're confident that we can sustain that incremental cost. So, on the occasion of our 25th anniversary, I want to recognize 3 really special supporters first. Because for the first time in an event like this, we have a $10,000 gift to start us off. So we're already a lot of the way there. This $10,000 gift comes to us today from Susan Rosenberg in Palo Alto. Many of you have visited one of our issue release parties at Susan's house and seen the pirate bathroom that has become quite famous at our organization. Whenever I see Susan, she looks me straight in the eye and she says, "Wes, just go do it. Just go do it. It makes sense. I support you fully," right? And so moved by Susan's gift, as I understand we have someone in the room who wants to match Susan's gift. Do I see Bart and Nancy Westcott right there in the 5th row? We have a match of Susan's gift. Bart and Nancy, many of you know, generations of Bay Nature staff have benefited from their support and their friendship. Nancy is our longest tenured board member, and Bart and Nancy together, you don't know this, but you're the reason we're here today. It was after we spoke in October that you encouraged me to go cross the bridge to San Francisco and throw a big event for the 25th anniversary is when we signed the agreement for this venue. So thank you for that. And one last donor, I always find Jorgen. Jorgen, where are you? Jorgen always kicks off our local Hero Award fundraising each and every year. Jorgen is 99 years young. He met David on a hike in 2001 and has been a Bay Nature member and supporter for 25 years. It's incredible. So Jorgen, may I invite you please to raise your paddle at the $5,000 level? Oh, he's playing coy. He's playing coy. Okay. So listen, we're a third of the way there. We're at $25,000 on Bay Nature's 25th anniversary. And in talking to Bart and Nancy, to Jorgen, to Susan, one thing that they find particularly inspiring is when their generosity is used to bring along the rest of the community, inspire the rest of the community. So I'm going to take a deep breath and I'm going to make an invitation on the occasion of Bay Nature's 25th anniversary to see if we have any $2,500 gifts in the audience. I'll let you know in a minute. No, I can't look at you just yet. But here's the thing. If we can get 10 $2,500 gifts, we will match dollar for dollar the generosity that we've already seen today. Okay, so count of 3. Let's see if we can do it. I'm not going to look at you. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3. Do we have any $2,500 gifts? Incredible. We did it. We did it. Hold it up high. Hold them up high. We want to make sure we do. I saw 12, I think. Wow. Wow, 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 wow. Okay. Now, I know $2,500 is a bit of a stretch, so I want to make an opportunity at the $1,000 level. So if you make a gift of $1,000 today, you become part of Bay Nature's Publishers Circle. So by becoming part of that Publishers Circle, you get 3 primary benefits. The first is that you're able to vote on our quarterly polls to select the Bay Nature cover image, right? So you get to do that every quarter. You get priority registration to all of Bay Nature's events. So if you see something that really catches your interest, you're given advance notice of that so that you can register in advance. And you receive invitations to our quarterly issue release parties that we do every quarter as we release the magazine, where we celebrate with our staff and our contributors and our community of support. So if you're able to join us at the $1,000 level, you become part of that community, and we'll continue that conversation. So again, I have to, looking up is tough, but I'm going to ask you on the count of 3, if we have any $1,000 gifts in the audience, we would love to see those paddles. Reach them high and keep them up so that we can see them. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Any $1,000 gifts? Woo. Wow, look at you all go. Look at you all go. Look at you all go. Incredible. Okay, so we're going to move to the $500 level. And at the $500 level, we want to talk about our new our events program that you've heard a lot about today. So we launched this events program 2 years ago, and like you've heard, it has quickly grown to be more than 80 events a year. Last year, they engaged more than 5,000 people. It's remarkable. At this point, about half of the people who are signing up for new Bay Nature memberships every day, half of them cite the events program as the reason why they're joining. So this is a lot of work. Half of them are virtual, half of them are live. Here's where we've been over the past year with all of you, producing events as far north as Clear Lake, as far south as Elkhorn Slough. That's a lot of ground to cover. Does anyone want to guess how many miles we've traveled putting on events over the past year? Anyone have a guess? 50,000? Not quite 50,000, but it's a big number. It is a big number. All right. We have traveled as a staff in the last year to see all of you 3,000 miles. 3,000 miles covering the Bay. We have big plans for this events program because we feel like we have proof of concept at this point. We see originally this was an idea, so it was another storytelling device, another way for us to express our journalism. What we didn't see coming is that this is the magic of the events program. It's the repeated interaction, it's the connection, it's the community building, the relationships that all of you develop coming out to our events. So the way we figure, the more events we produce, the more relationships you build, the stronger this community becomes. So we have big plans. Imagine, for instance, if we took this Jumping Spider Talk by our friend Trinity Walls, right? What if we turned that into an entire course about spiders over a period of time? What if we took our popular otter boat excursion with our friends from the Elkhorn Slough Foundation? What if we did this quarterly, right? So that you could see this changing habitat over the seasons, and you come out to all 4 of them. Imagine if we produced more large-scale events like that Lonely Skies event that I know a number of you came to last August, where we rented out the entire Chabot Planetarium and sold it out, 250 tickets on the Friday before Memorial Day. Couldn't believe it. It was magical. What if we did that more? There's talk of doing a conference, right? What if we produced an event where we had all of your favorite Bay Nature stories and personalities up on stage, sharing their research with you so that you could follow them as deeply as you'd like to go. These are all things we can do with your support, right? Because all of this takes time, it takes effort, it takes work. It requires honorariums, it requires permits, and mileage, of course, a lot of mileage. So if you're interested in becoming an underwriter of our events program over the next year, we'd love to have your gift at the $500 level. so that we can do more of this, okay? So on the count of 3, we would love to see your gifts at the $500 level. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3, $500 gifts for our events program. Woo! Unbelievable. You guys, you make my heart pound. You make my heart pound. Okay, so now we're going to move to the $250 level, the $250 level. And I want you to pay attention to how I draw this line here because I'm going to include myself in it. And this commits you again to nothing. Do me a favor and raise your hand if you're in this room and you're over 45 years old. All right? Yeah, see, my hand's up too. My hand's up too. All right. So it's many of us. It's many of us over 45. Okay, now raise your hand if you happen to be under 30 years old. If you're under 30 years old. Okay, there you are. You're here. You're here. You're here. Okay, so listen. You have told us the same thing. As I travel around the region talking to our supporters, one of the first things that always gets mentioned to me is we have to reach the next generation. We have to make certain that the fight that's been started is able to continue and that we're able to engage the next generation, which is why 2 years ago, Bay Nature launched its Future Fund, right? Our Future Fund is our effort specifically to conduct outreach to students and to policymakers. It's entirely donor funded, right? And so the success of this program is really your success. And it's my favorite thing to share that last year we reached every public high school library in the region from Santa Rosa to Santa Cruz with Bay Nature magazine. That's over 200 schools. And last year, we were able to expand the program with your support so that I can also tell you that every mayor and every head of city planning in the Bay Area also receives Bay Nature. So every mayor of every city also receives Bay Nature. And this has a wonderful impact. I need to read to you an email that I received. So this teacher writes, I should mention, in addition to those libraries, there are about 20 or 25 individual classrooms who then receive memberships for the entire classroom, as well as different teacher support aids and so forth, so that they can use Bay Nature in middle school science classes. And so a teacher wrote to me, he says, so our school used the Bay Nature magazines as a way to bring nature closer to our 6th, 7th, and 8th grade science students. One way was an in-depth look at whales. Some of you may recall the whale article that Tanvi wrote. They were able to write in-depth essays about them and what they learned. But what you may not know is the students were encouraged to speak with their families about what they learned, and the parents were asked to send an email back to the teacher so that we could monitor how many students spoke with their families. Of the 250 students, 71 parents replied. This is a nearly 30% return rate for students that had initiated and gotten replies from their parents. From his perspective, he says, this is a huge return on assignment. In addition, the amazing photography in the magazines was used by the art department. The art teacher wanted to convey how great it was for students to be able to use nature-related photography and art, which they don't normally have. As a school, we want to thank Bay Nature for the high level of content you consistently bring, and we look forward to a continued partnership with you in the coming years. So that's our Future Fund. That's what we're trying to do, right? And to help us at this $250 level, I want to recognize 2 other special folks in our communities. Where are Tamia and Tom? Tamia and Tom, are you? There they are, right in the back. Okay, so Tamia and Tom are dedicated conservationists in their own right. They're also tremendously concerned about us all reaching the next generation. So to help us at the $250 level, they have pledged a match, a challenge to all of us with $5,000, okay? So $5,000 to consume that match entirely, we need 20 $250 gifts, and I think we can do it. So on the count of 3, can I see $250 gifts to reach students in classrooms across the Bay Area? Okay, 1, 2, 3, let's see 250. Woo! All right, now we're going to wrap things up. Oh, I have to wait. There are too many gifts. I have to wrap it. I have to wait. You guys are incredible. All right. Oh, you have a couple in the balcony? All right. Okay, you guys have worked really hard. We appreciate it. And now we're going to have a little bit of fun. You guys, you already know where I'm going with this, okay? Bay Nature is a scrappy nonprofit, right? I always say that we are able to do this because we also do this. We put together our own IKEA furniture, right? You can't have one without the other. And in this portion where we're going to ask for $100 and $50 gifts, we've done some incredible things over the last 3 years. 3 years ago, where's Stu Weiss? What'd we do, Stu? Printers, that's right. We replaced our printers. Thank you, Stu. 2 years ago, you helped us renovate our office. Look at this before, after. Yes. And last year, you guys know all about this. We took our old office chairs, and where are John and Linda? With John and Linda's help, we replaced them. This is outstanding. Alrighty. So this year, with $100 and $50 gifts, you guys have told us, so we've done a lot more audio and visual video content over the last year. It's an entirely new form of storytelling for us. You know, it's short form content. We want to get into podcasting. We need to do a lot more with all of the audio and the video content that we produce. Just to give you a quick sense, this is our YouTube page, right? What have we done just recently, right? Everything from night sky photography to sharks, gull identification, a deep exploration of the ocean. There's so much more that we can do. Here's our challenge. Our challenge is welcome to the Bay Nature production studio. It looks like this. You would be forgiven if you mistook this for a closet, because guess what? It's a closet. And we're going to recreate it for you here on stage really quickly so that you know the depth of our pain. But this is how we're producing audio and video content at the moment. Okay? So here it is, right? It's a little table. That heater is very important because it gets very cold back there. It is also where we store David Loeb's chair originally. It has a note on the back. That says, David Loeb's chair, do not throw out. Very important. And then last but not least, it's also where we store all the beer for our issue release parties, okay? So this is how we're producing content right now. And suffice to say, we need your help with speakers and microphones, and we need help with professional backdrops and lighting. But here's the serious part about all this, is if we're doing 80 events a year, the immediate impact that you can have on our organization with just a $100 or a $50 gift, you're going to help us replace all of this. And so when you log on to future events, well, maybe not your chair, but you're going to help us replace all of this, okay? So if you haven't given yet, if you're able to help us at the $100 level or even the $50 level, you will go a long way towards helping us advance as an organization, okay? So count of 3. Can I have gifts at the $100 level? 1, 2, 3. Woo! All right, and then the $50 level. If you haven't given to this point and you'd love to make a contribution to Bay Nature at the $50 level, please do at this point, okay? Count of three, $50 gifts. 1, 2, 3. Woo! Oh, one more up there. Outstanding. All right, you guys, we are so grateful to have your support. We will tally up the figures, and if we can, we'll let you know at the end of the show or out at the reception. But we just did that together, and that's the way that this happens with Bay Nature and with all of you in community. So with our hearts full of gratitude, thanks very much, and we'll return you to the rest of the program. Enjoy the rest of the day.
All right, we want to say thank you to everybody for the incredible energy from that. That's an important part of this day, and you all took part and committed, and it was something special to sit on the side and watch Wes work the room. And how many people here genuinely were engaged and committed with that? Thank you very much. Okay, so now as we come back together, we're going to turn to a section of the magazine that I think many of us feel personally connected to. Explore. This is the part of Bay Nature that takes everything we've been reading and gets us outside. It's where the stories become places you can go, trails you can walk, experiences you can have for yourself. And increasingly, that's something Bay Nature is actively creating, thankfully. Over the past year, Bay Nature has brought its journalism to life through guided hikes, field experiences, and online talks, connecting readers directly with the people behind the stories. More than 80 live and virtual events engaged over 5,000 people across the Bay Area. And that's where connection really happens. Because it's one thing to read about the natural world, and it's another to be in it, to observe it, to share it with others who feel the same way you do, and to see yourself as part of that. So our next speaker has built an entire movement around that very idea. Rue Mapp is the founder of Outdoor Afro. It's a national nonprofit that reconnects Black people with the outdoors, from hiking and fishing to kayaking and gardening. Rue's hometown is Oakland, and her work has helped shape how we can all create more inclusive, welcoming spaces for people to connect with nature. She is, in every sense, a living embodiment of the Explore section. Please join me in welcoming Rue Mapp.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon. Oh, wait a minute. I come from a call and response tradition. Good afternoon. That's what I'm talking about. Okay. Well, I grew up between two landscapes, and both of them made me. The Oakland Hills, where Skyline Boulevard ran through redwoods, pines, bay laurel, and eucalyptus, and the ridgelines of Joaquin Miller and Redwood Regional became the backyard I measured myself against. And then 2 hours northeast, my family's second home and hobby ranch in Lake County. Dry grasslands, rolling oak woodlands, freshly tilled soil. The air warmer, the light sharper. A place of work as much as wonder. Those two landscapes together taught me something I've carried ever since. The outdoors is not scenery. It is where people build community, skills, traditions, find healing and joy that can move across generations. That understanding eventually led me to create Outdoor Afro. Bay Nature was born in 2001. Outdoor Afro came about a few years later, out of this same Bay Area, rooted in the same conviction that these specific, knowable, irreplaceable places matter deeply to us all. What began as a small blog and a handful of outings in partnership with local environmental organizations and parks, many represented in this room, Outdoor Afro has grown into a national network that leads hikes, paddling trips, camping excursions, fishing outings, and so much more that you can imagine in nature for over 60,000 people of all ages. The Bay Area has been headquarters and home for this work from the very beginning. Birding walks along the shoreline, bike rides along the watershed, camping in the regional parks, family gatherings beneath redwood canopies and along quiet creeks. When that connection takes hold, we see it in small things. A first-time hiker who stops mid-trail because a poppy caught their eye. A child who comes home knowing the name of that funny-looking bird is a belted kingfisher. A family that returns the following weekend and the one after that because a place has gotten into them. That's how it starts. Attention, then connection, then care. What I've learned from years of leading people outside is that the threshold is usually smaller than people expect. A name learned, a trail walked once, a story that makes a place feel knowable. Bay Nature has been lowering that threshold for 25 years. Black Americans have always known that rhythm, the tradition of outdoor life, tending land and animals, and passing that knowledge down runs long and deep in this country, the same way it was passed down to me and my family. Outdoor Afro honors that continuity. We are reconnecting and part of an ongoing story, adding our chapter to one that stretches back generations. Bay Nature has spent 25 years telling the true story of this region, season by season, watershed by watershed. That kind of patient, grounded storytelling builds the knowledge that makes people care. And we all know that people protect what they care for. We understand that the landscapes we bring people into didn't preserve themselves. Decades of dedicated work by scientists, land trusts, public agencies, and courageous community advocates created the network of parks, preserves, and restored shorelines that make the Bay Area what it is. That inheritance is remarkable, and it calls for stewardship in return. Bay Nature has been a part of building that inheritance, bearing witness season after season to what is alive and changing and worth defending here. The story of the Bay Area is still unfolding. New trails are being walked for the first time. wildlife is reclaiming habitats that dedicated hands have restored. And more people from more walks of life are finding their way outside, falling in love, and understanding this place is worth protecting. Many hands have shaped the ground beneath us. On this 25th anniversary, I thank you all for being among them. Here's to the next 25 years. Congratulations, Bay Nature.
Thank you so much, Rue. As we come to the close of our program now, we arrive at something that in many ways brings everything together. Because behind every story, every illustration, every experience that we've talked about today, there's a community that's making it possible. Members, supporters, contributors, staff, board members, people who believe that this work matters and choose to be a part of that work. In the magazine, this is the moment where we pause to recognize that, to acknowledge that none of this happens on its own. And it's fitting that we close with someone who represents that spirit so fully. Rebecca Johnson is a community science leader. She's helping connect people to the process of discovery through initiatives like the City Nature Challenge at the California Academy of Sciences. She's also the president of Bay Nature's board, someone who has helped guide this organization with vision and with care. She's here to bring us full circle, to reflect on what we've shared today and to look ahead to what comes next. Please join me in welcoming Rebecca Johnson.
I just got some really great news. Hi everyone, my name is Rebecca Johnson and I have the great honor and joy of being the Bay Nature Board Chair. What an amazing afternoon. I saw a little bit of this program before and I still had tears in my eyes at multiple moments of the day. So thank you all for that. So like many of you, I'm leaving this program feeling both inspired and grounded, reminded of what's possible when community built on a shared love of place and each other comes together. So I've been a Bay Nature subscriber and member since the very beginning. So that means, like many of you, I've read over 100 magazines and hundreds of stories so far. I've shared those stories, talked about many of those stories, and featured. I've also had so many chances to be in community with other Bay Nature folks, like all of you, on hikes, online, in BioBlitzes, at issue release parties, local hero awards, but I've never experienced the magazine together with the community like we just got to do. So I'm really just overwhelmed and in awe of that experience that we just had together. One of the things that we just did together is raise over $100,000. So in addition to raising more money than Bay Nature ever has in a single day, today we heard stories that reflect Bay Nature: curious, rigorous, creative, caring. But more than anything, we've seen that the work is never done alone. It takes all of us, different perspectives, different experiences, different ways of showing up, to build a Bay Area where both people and nature can thrive. That's what Bay Nature has done for 25 years. Through journalism that helps us understand the world around us, and through programs that bring us into it on trails and conversations, and in shared moments like this today. Bay Nature creates a space for that connection, and that connection is what sustains the work. We've shared a lot of thanks today, and I want to take an extra minute, though, to thank publisher and ED Wes Rades and editor Victoria Schlesinger. I also want to take a minute to thank all of the Bay Nature staff, and I'm going to name everybody, so hold on. Kate Golden, Kathleen Richards, Catalina Luna, Leah Keener, Amir Aziz, Tanvi Dutta Gupta, Cynthia Rubin, Michaelin Compton, Patrick Brode, Barbara Butkus, Sheila Moore, Jenny Stamp, and Lawrence Teets. And of course, thanks to you. Thanks for being a part of this community. Thanks for your support, your curiosity, and your commitment to this place we all call home. Now, next time you're reading the magazine, or you remember something you learned from a story or someone you talked to on a hike or met through Bay Nature, remember this feeling of togetherness. And imagine that web of connection that binds all of us. That web is literally us. Our connections to nature, to each other, our stories, shared experiences, our sharing of our expertise, cool facts, great hikes, dreams, poems, drawings, photographs, accomplishments, fights, and struggles. That is what makes up the fabric of our community. It's what holds us together and what has helped us conserve and protect the places and plants and animals that we love. As we look ahead, that shared purpose matters more than ever. There's so much more work to do, and we're doing it together. That gives me so much hope. Before we head out, we invite you to continue the celebration in the courtyard, if it's not raining, and other places. Enjoy the reception, connect with one another, and don't miss the chance to have your 25th anniversary poster signed by Tom Killian, which is like a thrill, right? Or see John Muir Laws at work. One last thing, though, before we leave, we're going to take a picture, a group photo all together, a way to capture this moment. So we'll get instructions about how to do that next. But from the bottom of my heart, thank you again for being here and being part of Bay Nature's past, present, and future.